Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a hidden psychological mystery about something you probably do every single day. We're talking about everyday spending, and specifically, the real truth about credit cards. Now, we're not going to just cover the obvious stuff you already know, like paying your balance on time or, pretending to read the terms and conditions. We are going way deeper. We're going to look at the psychology of why really smart, highly responsible people still end up spending way more than they intend to, and what that actually means for your financial future.
All right, let's get right into it. I want you to picture this scenario. You're standing in line at your favorite coffee shop, and the total comes to $6. You tap your card, barely even think about it, and you walk out with your latte. Easy, right? Now picture something completely different. You're standing in front of a jar of cash on your kitchen counter. You actually have to pull out $6 in physical bills and coins to go buy that exact same coffee. Same coffee, same $6. But handing over physical cash feels entirely different than that weightless little card tab. That tiny difference, the one you barely even notice, is exactly why credit card companies are so insanely profitable. They understand something fundamental about your brain that you probably don't.
Section 1. The myth of discipline. To really get to the bottom of this, we first got to dismantle the biggest, most common misconception about consumer debt. The story we've all been sold is that debt is basically a personal failure. We're told it all comes down to bad self-control. And if you just fix your discipline, well, you'll fix your debt. And hey, on the surface, that totally makes sense, right? But it is fundamentally flawed.
Here's why that whole discipline argument just completely falls apart in the real world. Think about it. Plenty of highly disciplined, intelligent, very financially literate people still overspend on their credit cards all the time. We're talking about doctors, engineers, professionals who are fantastic at planning and delaying gratification in literally every other part of their lives. So you have to ask yourself, if debt is truly just about a lack of discipline, why do these super smart future planning individuals keep falling into the exact same trap? Well, the truth is, credit card debt isn't a discipline problem at all. It is a design problem. Credit cards are built, quite intentionally, to entirely bypass the part of your brain that normally protects you from overspending. To understand exactly how they pull this off, we have to look at how our brains process loss.
Which brings us to Section 2, the pain of paying.
This is the core psychological mechanism at the absolute heart of this explainer. Every single time you spend money, your brain registers a tiny bit of discomfort. Not physical pain, obviously, but something remarkably close to it. Researchers have actually found that the parts of your brain associated with physical pain light up slightly when we hand over cash. And this discomfort exists for a very specific evolutionary reason. It acts as a built-in brake system. It is the exact reason you hesitate for half a second before buying something, weighing whether this purchase is actually worth the loss.
So let's break down how different payment methods totally mess with that natural brake system. It's basically a hierarchy of friction. Step 1 is cash. Cash creates the most friction because you physically watch the money leave your hand. Every bill is a visible, countable loss. Step 2 is debit. A little less friction here. The money leaves your account immediately, but it's invisible, right? You don't actually see a stack of bills getting thinner. And then we hit Step 3, credit. Zero friction. Poof! Nothing actually leaves your bank account in that exact moment. Your brain doesn't register the transaction as a loss at all. It's just a simple tap. The real financial impact is delayed until the end of the month, which completely removes the pain of paying.
Section 3, the invisible debt trap.
By making spending feel like it isn't really happening, credit cards set the perfect stage for the invisible debt trap. When you use a credit card, you are basically borrowing money from the bank instantly at the point of purchase, and that creates two very different realities. Now, if you pay your balance in full every month, it's essentially a free short-term loan. It can even work in your favor by helping you build credit. But if you carry a balance, you enter a totally different reality. Interest doesn't just get added as some flat one-time fee. It compounds. It builds on top of itself month after month, working against you in the exact same way investment growth works for you, just, in reverse.
Let's anchor this with some actual math, just to put it into perspective. Imagine you owe just $2,000 on a credit card with a really high interest rate. If you only make the minimum payment every month, it can take literally years to pay that off. By the time you're finally done, you'll have paid back far more than the original $2,000. In some cases, you could end up paying more than double that amount, entirely just in compounding interest.
And right here is the absolute secret to the bank's true business model. They aren't actually hoping you default to never pay them back. That's bad for business. What they really want is for you to exist in this in-between zone. They want you making your payments for sure, but just slowly enough that the interest keeps compounding and working in their favor.
Because that in-between zone is so incredibly profitable, credit card companies design every single part of the experience to keep you there by aggressively reducing friction. Just look at these engineered design choices. You've got sleek apps, one-tap payments, auto-pay reminders that conveniently default to just the minimum payment, gamified rewards that make spending feel like winning a game. Look, none of this is an accident. It is highly engineered, exactly the same way a casino engineers its floor plan to keep you playing just a little bit longer, making sure you don't realize how much time or money has passed.
But here is the twist, and this really should change how you view your wallet. Credit cards themselves are not the villain here. They are completely neutral tools. The real danger isn't the plastic card, it's the invisible nature of the spending. The true villain we have to watch out for is that friction reduction. Once you understand that, you can start using the tool without letting the tool use you. Section 4. Designing your own friction. So how do we fight back? Well, the people who build long-term wealth aren't necessarily the ones with some superhuman level of self-control. They are simply the ones who understand these systems well enough to protect themselves. Here is a rapid-fire rundown of 4 defensive strategies you can literally start using tomorrow. First, manually add friction back into your life. Check your bank balance immediately after a purchase so your brain actually registers the loss, or force yourself into a 24-hour waiting period for large buys just to recreate that natural hesitation. Second, treat your credit limit like it's completely fake. Third, automate your full payoff every month, not just the minimum, to completely remove the temptation of hidden borrowing. And fourth, always remember that those shiny rewards are definitely not free.
Let's actually zoom in on that second point for a second, because it's super vital. You have to separate 2 numbers in your head. The bank's credit limit is simply what the bank thinks you can be trusted to pay back, with interest. That is entirely different from your actual limit, which is what you can comfortably afford based on your real-life income and budget. Confusing these 2 numbers is honestly one of the most common reasons people overspend. Just because a little screen tells you you're allowed to spend $5,000 absolutely does not mean that reflects your actual financial reality. And as for those rewards programs, well, here's the harsh math on that. Every single rewards program out there is funded by the spending habits of people who don't pay off their balance. If you are out there chasing points and miles while carrying interest month to month, you are paying far more in interest than you are ever gaining in perks. The math almost never favors the spender in that scenario.
The entire system is designed from the ground up to make your spending invisible because effortless spending is highly profitable spending for the bank. So I want to leave you with one single powerful question. I want you to pause and ask yourself this before your very next tap. Would I still buy this if I had to pull out my wallet and count out physical cash for it instead? If the answer is yes, then hey, go for it. But if the answer is no, you just caught your brain in the exact moment it was designed to be caught off guard. That single second of awareness is your best defense, and honestly, it's worth way more than any rewards program ever will be. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.